Hi, welcome to Mom Cooks and Gardens. Today in this video we want to share with you how we installed a deer fence around the property. Our supplies were a roll of this red brand welded wire fence, which we picked up from Tractor Supply. We bought a couple bags of these T-post clips, which come in very handy to secure the fencing to the T-posts. We used about a dozen T-posts here. Some electrical staples to attach the fencing to the trees, and a clip bender, which helped us twist these guys and secure the fencing. So let me show you what it looks like. Here's our fence running along the perimeter. We went with the 4-foot fencing we already had on hand from the garden, but if you have a problem with deer in your area, you may want to go with a 6-foot fence. Deer are known to be able to jump that high, but for the occasional deer that wanders our way, I think 4-foot will be just fine. So this straight area was fairly easy to install, pretty straightforward. I was able to do it myself in about an hour and 45 minutes. Now the slope here as we descend the property was another story. The uneven terrain made it a hard job to contour and get that fencing down low enough that it would help deter the groundhogs, but also maintain the height for the deer. We decided to go fence panel by fence panel. If you want to see how we handled that challenge, continue watching the video. This morning we're going to work on our deer fence. We're putting this welded fencing up along the back of the garden, and then we're going to create a gate so that we have access. And I'm going to start by clearing the sticks off the ground, and then I'm going to roll out this and stand it up and fasten it to these T-posts. All right, so we've got it laid out. And I've propped it up here at the end. Hopefully it won't fall over. But what I'm going to do is start to set this up and use the clips to like hold it in place. And I'm going to do that right now. I think I'm going to start by securing this and pulling it taut. Ideally, I'm going to fasten here on the first rung down, not the top rung. I'm going to do it midway, and I'm going to do it at the base to keep the groundhog from, pulling the fence up and squeezing underneath. But you can see these are just here to hold the fence in place for the time being. Now we are working on a slope, and I've seen different techniques, but we're fairly even here, and I think because of the gradual slope, we may not have to do anything fancy till we hit right about here where it really drops off. And I think what we'll do is we'll end up cutting this panel probably right about here on this side of this bar. Then we'll reattach a new panel lightly, but that panel will be slightly shifted to follow the contour of the hill. We might even hog out a small trench and bury it an inch or two to get a nice smooth run. And we'll be able to come down to this area here. And then I think what we'll do is we'll probably aim the fence around the back side of it and then stretch it here. And then I'll probably wrap around this tree somehow. I'm not really sure how this is going to work here. But the idea is we want to have a nice clean sight line. We don't want a lot of ripples and waves, and we don't want it to be like open at the bottom where something can squeeze through. But we also want a nice look from eye level, which would be the top of the fence. All right, I'm back with my clip bender. I store it in the packaging because if I don't, I'll find it at the bottom of a bucket and I'll say, what is this? So, if you can save your packaging, do so. And it's nice because you can refresh yourself on how it's supposed to work so that you don't have to start from scratch and Google stuff when you're busy working. This is so difficult to do. I don't want to kneel in the mud either. So maybe we'll get our kneeling bench. I feel like it's important to get this one correct. If we don't have the right tension, we don't have it at the right angle, it's gonna throw us off for the rest. All right, so I've been struggling with this fence, but I've got it up and fastened. 3 fasteners each. Now I realize at 4 foot, it's probably not tall enough to truly keep deer out, but our deer really aren't a problem. Once a year, they wander up and browse the hostas and leave. I'm not too worried about them, but I think this will deter them from just wandering onto the property. They're not the type of deer that jump fences. They don't travel in herds. Usually it's 1 or 2, and they come up through these green acres here from across the street, and they kind of wander this path, and then they come right in here and eat my hostas, and then they leave. Seldom do they venture further up to the hill. I've never had a problem with them browsing in the garden, you know, considering we've only done this last year, but I feel like this is a good deterrent. I did my best not to have any waves. Tried to make it taut. And my goal this year is to plant things like sweet peas and pretty looking things, and you know, we'll have the wildflowers. So hopefully it'll camouflage the fence so that the neighbors don't have to look at it. But I'll be honest with you, it really does disappear. If you're looking in this way toward the garden, there is a fence all the way around the garden and you can barely see it. Once everything's green and growing and there's vines and stuff, I don't like fences, but you know, groundhogs and deer, so there we are. So I think what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna see how this handles the slope. And if it does what I think it's gonna do, I'm gonna have to cut this fence. As I said before, probably right about here. Well, probably right about here. And then I'll reattach it, but I'll be able to angle it and twist the tines down to create a seal. But so I'm gonna get to doing that now. All right, so in case you guys were wondering, we're using this welded wire fence from Red Brand. We picked it up at Tractor Supply, and I think it's going to serve us well this year. So I'll show you where we've gotten to. I'm over here descending the slope, and this is where I knew I would run into trouble. It was bowing and flexing because we're coming downhill. Now, unfortunately, it's not as simple as just driving in some stakes and then joining them on curves. We've got trees in the way and tree roots, which doesn't allow us to attach stakes. So I think what we'll probably end up doing is attaching our fence to the trees. So I went ahead and I snipped all but the top 2 pieces. I'll probably go ahead and snip at least this one. but I went and snipped down the line. You could see here. Now see how that's already starting to overlap by a couple inches? The more it overlaps, the straighter it becomes. And I think what I'll do is probably attach here and then maybe press it in and attach there, and maybe attach like here to this tree. I had to dig out a little bit of dirt, and I think we'll attach to this tree in the same manner with very heavy duty large staples. Then I think my next course of action is, this is the descending slope with the 2 poles there. We'll start the fence down at that end. I'll have to use a broom and flush these leaves out of the way. But we'll start at that end with our roll, and we'll come up to meet this tree. And I think here on the back side is where we'll attach it. We may end up coming straight up to this tree and then just cutting out to fit the shape of the tree. It will leave our fence kind of short in this area. I don't think it's going to be a problem. This is more about just a visual deterrent to the 1 or 2 deers who wander by, but mainly that we have some wire down low where the groundhogs are.
All right, I like our handiwork. Neat.
I think I might have to disengage the last trunk and rotate it. Might.
Okay.
So this is what I'm thinking has to happen. So here, I cut these guys,
Yeah.
and this will allow me to like pull this a little tauter.
Sure.
And then curl these tines around to seal it up.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll staple to the tree and tree.
Have you already done so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I use electrical staples.
Yeah, well, that's what I had.
Yeah, and it will hold them good. This tree is harder because it's got this grooved bark. You know?
Nails, and just bend them.
I thought about that, but I think these might work all right. I put one here.
Okay.
I put one here halfway. Put one at the top.
Okay.
Maybe put 1 or 2 more. So this is what I'm thinking.
All right.
That way we can work out some of the groove kinks in that direction with the tightening of that cut.
I'm with you.
This is where we run into a real problem. So if you stand right here,
Yeah.
I think what I'll do is cut this right about here, right?
Okay.
Cut it down. Well, maybe I'll cut.
I would cut it here.
Yeah. And it'll give me plenty to work with. Okay?
Yeah.
So cut it here, right?
Right.
Then disconnect it.
And then follow the slope.
Start from the bottom up, because this seems pretty straight.
Yeah, co-plant. Yeah.
I may have to make a cut just after that one and do the same thing.
You need another pole.
But my thought is like come up that way, and then just we'll have a piece and a piece, and we'll just kind of wrap them and tack them.
Okay.
Eh?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Those imaginary elk that come up and feed on our garden.
There's hoof prints.
Yeah, the hoof prints.
They're deer.
Yeah. Well,
And the nibbled plants are evidence.
you're assuming that it's not the neighbors and I having a couple beers and using our fake deer track kit that we got.
It's not.
Now, do you notice a pair of Samba tracks near the deer hooves? You sure? Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's okay, right?
Yeah, it's great. It looks great. Doesn't look like I did it.
Okay.
Be a hot mess if I did it.
Then I'll need to cut this.
Okay.
I'm gonna do mine without. We can always pound it in and then tie it to it.
Sounds like a hot date to me.
Yeah.
All right. It's March almost, late February. Time to garden.
All right, here we go. The slope. This fence is not liking this slope. All right, I've been struggling with this. It's not going to work as configured. So here's my solution. And I'm gonna start on it tomorrow. I'm not gonna force myself to struggle with this anymore tonight. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm gonna take out the stakes. This stake and that stake. I'm gonna move that one a foot in and that one a foot in. And then I'm gonna add a third one there if I can. Get it in between the tree roots. I might have to move this one down by a foot, move that one down by a half of a foot. What I'm gonna do is cut those ties I put in, and I'm going to bring that panel on an angle as straight as I can. Then what I plan to do is cut the wire, like right about here. Cut it straight down and take this panel and make the angle follow the ground as close as I can get, and then knit these two together and put a tie in, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll cut it, pull it all taut on this panel so it'll be straight, like an inch off the ground. Then I'll cut this panel to fit that section. So we're gonna have like a knit with this new post that I'm gonna put in. I knit at this post, and knit at that post. Then I'll tighten up that tree, and we'll attach the end of this fence directly to this tree on the inside, not in between like I have the fence coming through now. I'll actually attach it to the tree and then trim away the excess. That way there won't be more than a 2-inch gap at the bottom. It'll have a nice straight line at the top and we'll have good tension. But right now these posts are really soft. So I think moving them in a foot and pounding them in fresh, maybe even going another 6 or 7 inches deeper, because there's a lot of excess. You can see here, like the fence is only 4 foot tall and the post is like a 6 foot fence post. So that access, we can bury more in the ground, give it more stability. So we'll end up with like a panel, then this one will be more severe, a panel, and then the last one, panel. Honestly, from 20 feet, it really does fade. So let me just come back a couple feet. See how you can barely see it? And once all the trees leaf out and all the greenery starts growing, it's not going to be noticeable. But at least we'll have some like taut sections with only a 2 or 3 inch gap in places. Not the entire thing. As it's configured now, some places are touching the ground and then we're gonna have like a 2 foot gap in others. It's just not gonna work. So that's my plan. All right, we'll come back tomorrow and I'm gonna make this work. Okay, so we're back today to work on our slope. You can see I was just disgusted yesterday, and it's a thing. So my plan last night after standing here and contemplating everything is I'm going to, let me put down my stuff. What I'm gonna do is panel by panel, I'm going to cut free the fence and reattach it so that that panel is parallel to the ground. You can see what I'm talking about here. This is a high spot on the slope, so the fence is stuck there, but you can see at the very end here we're touching the ground, and in between we've got gaps because the ground is wavy and a fence can't follow that. So the plan is I'm going to detach these, right, and I'm going to cut the fence here. That way I can drop this panel down independently, and then the next panel will be free floating and I can adjust that panel, and then the next one adjust that panel. So essentially all the panels are separate from each other. We're going to add another stake in here, so the panels will be, you know, the span between them will be shorter, therefore the slope that we're dealing with on that panel will be less. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, the goal here is just take it in bites. You know, this bite, like from there to there, can be adjusted, from there to there can be adjusted, from there to there can be adjusted, from there to there. And hopefully it'll give us a nicer look, a smoother fence line. Now the top of the fences will be varying, they'll be like step down, and that's just what you have to do on a slope. But at least it'll look nice. Up there we were able to finesse it a little by snipping the fence. It's got a nice straight line. It looks good. And you know, I'm not going to be precious about it because from 10 feet the fence really disappears, and once all the trees start blooming, you know, it's going to create a lot of visual noise. So it's not like the fence is a focal point. It's meant to disappear, but I think that will give us the height we need for the deer and the closeness to the ground, as close as possible to deter the groundhogs. They'll still get in, and that's okay. Down here, there's really no issues with the groundhogs. It's the garden where we're trying to create like an impenetrable fortress. So yeah, this is mainly just for deer. The groundhogs can play around and have a good time down here. They don't really hurt anything. So first step this morning will be to get these posts out and move them. All right, that was quite a workout. There's our posts. You know, hopefully having another post will help take the slack out. And I'm gonna get ready to cut my first panel. I think what I'm gonna do though is attach it as best I can first and then cut so it doesn't fall on the ground. I'll probably put a couple tacks in and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I got our first panel in, pretty straight, and you can see down here we've got almost in contact the entire way. This little piece here will allow me to attach that piece here and bend the little tines down, but we'll also tie it to this post. So let's get that one ready. And we're gonna want some overlap, top and bottom. That looks like we need just a little more. But you can see right there, we're probably gonna have to cut right about here in order to attach this correctly. So this will be where we make our cut. That way when we get to the bottom, we'll have a lot of extra, we can trim that down. All right, So we've got these guys lined up. And then what I think I'll do is I'll come back in here and I will trim this excess off to about here so that I can, actually I probably will cut it right here so I can wrap that tine around there. And then cut it about here so I can wrap this tine inward around that. You know, so there's not so much noise going on.
And where are we right now? This pole wasn't here this morning, was it? You put that in, okay.
Right. I moved them down slightly and added extra panels.
I like it. It's a lot, it's shorter spans, tighter fence.
So, you know, tight. This one I'm struggling with.
Okay.
Tighten the top.
If the bottom's straight, we can tighten the top. Okay. Would a long screwdriver help you?
That'll work.
What the heck is that?
I think you're fine.
No. The heck is? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I find this shit all the time. Throw it toward the gray bucket.
Yeah. That's the last thing I was expecting to see in there.
I think you're good.
All right.
Break this away.
It's weird how on the hillside it's legitimate soil, whereas
no, it is everywhere.
No, but on the top it's all green marl.
Yeah. Phil.
We're only like, 70 feet from it.
Yeah.
Let's
see if we can do this.
All right.
Same problem.
It's not, I'm sorry.
It's almost like you gotta go like this and lean.
Yeah, I know.
I think we're kind of done
with this? Heck no. No. Because we're going to eventually put up split rail, and then we're going to line it on the inside with this stuff. We're nowhere near done. This party's just started. All right.
Okay. We're going to try to tighten the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's really gonna tighten on the top. So if you found this helpful, hopefully it'll inspire you to install your own fence and help protect your garden against the wildlife in your area. And stay tuned for our next video where we will be creating gates, both for the 20 by 20 garden and the deer fencing. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.